The following orc lore pertains to Myriad Legends, the mythic campaign setting that takes place in the world of Ichoros. You can find this lore and these orc stat blocks on my Patreon page. It's in the February 2025 issue of Scrolls of the Bard. Just search Esper the Bard on Patreon or follow the link down in the video description. The birth of the Orcneas. Al-Malika the Broodmother burned with envy over the elves, that fair kind created by Kara the Merry, their beauty, their longevity, their gracefulness, their mirth. They were as humans, elevated closer to perfection. So it was how many viewed them, and Al-Malika most of all, and at great lengths she viewed them, by farsight from her deep cave. How she watched them with such covetousness. Wanton was her desire to have them as her own. She sent her great crawling fangs into the woodlands, which fetched her a fine group of elves. In her lair, they wept and pleaded and despaired of the terror of that place. Their tears were wine to Al-Malika. She clutched them to herself and relished in their savor. She ate of them. She drank of them. She tasted every inch of them, and sucked the marrow from their bones. The last one she swallowed whole, and a spider swarm in her belly overcame the elf, and whispered secrets of the elven essence into the goddess's veins. The broodmother's womb swelled with embryonic mass. After the gestation ran its course, she birthed elves of her own, but they came tarry and too small, runts of ink and pitch that seemed to have taken in the blackness of her cave. A few of them scampered away to hide within crevices, but most broke upon themselves. They folded and cracked, sobbing all the while. Al-Malika snatched up the last of the tar babies and held him within her bosom. He would have broken apart, only that she preserved him with undeath, as though a bog mummy or a ghoul of some fetid catacomb. Again she sent forth her great crawling fangs, to fetch her what strength they could from the woodland above. They brought to her 3 subjects. The first was a boar, tenacious, wild, and tusked. The second was a woodsman, who had been set to fell a tree, with axe in hand. The third was a demon, a lesser sort, broken loose from a mage's conjuration. To the pitchy urchin she sacrificed these 3, their essences combined, there in her underworld lair, her palace of vermin. From the chittering throngs of her court of limbs unnumbered, new beings arose. They were muck and murk, fear and fury, a monstrous kind, not elves, though a grim echo of the elven form could be glimpsed with the right kind of eyes. Elves, but not, and bore tusks and bore tenacity, the penchant of a woodsman overblown to an axe killer and forest wrecker, the malice and vexation of a demon. Awful in their strength they stood, sallow brutes, elf, ghoul, boar, reaver, fiend, abomination, monster, corruption, malformation. Anger boiled in their bellies. They ate to placate the wrath in there, ate anything they could. They killed to slake that which within both killed them and drove them on at once. Al-Malika was displeased with these new children of hers. She loved them not, and she moved to destroy them and expunge them from her sight, but they rushed from her. Bitter will compelled them, born of their disparate parts. They fled on, some dying to the goddess and her thralls, some persisting. The survivors loped in dark places. They ate ravenously as they could. They slunk into the world above at times, fetching victims as their unwilling ancestors had been fetched, to eat, to make barbaric craft, to plunder, to breed. In time, they would spread, like so many vermin, these cavern-born, these misbegotten ones, unwanted, unfit, too grotesque to live, yet too stubborn to die. Orcneas. Orcs throughout Ichoros. Most lorekeepers agree that orcs originated in the northern realm of MacLeod, long, long ago. How it is that they came to spread to other lands is a matter of many debates. Orcs dwell notably in Naperna, Drekengrim, and Gildis. Some groups are found in parts of Bazagon, and other groups are in Jaya, to the extent of what few things can dwell in that scorched place. Beyond these nations, some amount of orcs have been sighted in virtually every other realm. How did they reach so many corners of the world? They're not known as a seafaring kind, and deep-water orcish ships are unheard of. Ships that are attacked by orcs are soon after broken down to scavenged heaps and firewood. What is apparent is that different orc populations have dwelled far separate from each other for great lengths of time. Such is the distancing that a clan or tribe of a given area is often unaware that there are orcs elsewhere in the world. Indeed, many are ignorant to the fact that there are other realms beyond their own. Religious practices. A common characteristic among orcs is that they almost never worship elder gods. Many worship regional gods, or titans, or in some cases, archfiends. Some orc chieftains declare themselves to be gods and demand the supplication of their tribe. Some orc groups reject any form of authority, despising and denying the gods, and living only to spread havoc and destruction. Orcish religious rites are brutal and crude. They involve bloodletting, living sacrifices, put to the blade, or crushed by stone, or ripped apart, or immolated in fire rituals. There is ferocity and ugliness in all that they do, and even when they attempt to orient to the sacred, they end up dragging it down into the profane. Evil by nature? Another topic of lengthy dispute is whether orcs are intrinsically evil. The majority of people claim yes, and there is much weight to this position, as the orc race is monstrous and birthed by an evil goddess of vermin and caves. The main topic of debate is usually about what degree of innate evil orcs possess. Surely they are somewhere between a human and a demon, are they not? And yet, there are recorded cases of individual orcs who proved that not all of their kind are malevolent. These instances are rare, and not all have been fully confirmed, but almost everyone has heard tales of an orc with a conscience who broke free from his savage tribe and who struggled through the pain of being accepted by neither orc nor man. A further topic, and one of much social taboo, is the half-orc, that offspring who often results from the ravenous brutality of orc raids. While less reviled than full orcs, these brutish half-bloods have historically been the subject of shame and ridicule, except when it comes to championing a military cause, in which they are known to excel. And now we are in an age in which the very High King of MacLeod, Stragor, is a half-orc, and it was he who led the luminous procession and brought about the reincarnation of Illus the Lantern, through whose ascension to the heavens burned away the blight mists that lingered after the War of Three Dooms. High King Stragor, who is one of the keepers of the Silver Flame, who defended the world from the onslaught of Nergoi and his wicked army in the Infernal War, whose dear ally is the Mithril Emperor in Bazagon. Seeing this man of orcish ancestry achieve such heroic renown, and effect such universal benefit is a blow to the ages-old spite against half-orcs, and indeed mixed ancestry folk of all stripes. A note on the term Orcneas. In typical usage, the plural form of orc is orcs. However, the collective noun by which to refer to all of orc kind is properly Orcneas, sometimes capitalized with a uppercase O. The meaning of this word is imprecise. Attempts to define Orcneas too rigidly are bound to fail. The closest approximations would be definitions such as underworld hellions, things from deep caves, or monsters that came from below. Again, if you'd like all this content in newsletter form, head on over to my Patreon page. You can become a free member, or if you join as a Lorekeeper patron or higher, you get access to even more content, such as with this newsletter, there are 2 additional orcs in there. The Fellblade Reaver, who is a specialized warrior that forges accursed blades, and the Mud Shaman, a mucky ritualist and spellcaster. I want to say a special thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who helps make everything I do possible. In particular, Lucas Mesmo, Adam Wood, Nick Thy Pirate King, Jared Primont, Locke, Nicholas A., Technicolor Shale, Robert Brashini, Ben R., Till Wrench, Tornado, Agile Monk, James Macala, and Sassy Cat Productions. Until we meet again, my brave companions, hold fast against the misbegotten cave-born hellions, and may your adventures be many.